good. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you. And today we will talk about applied AI. I would like to share with you the experience we have as Dell Group, and I would like to share some material with you. Let us see if we can put the material up on screen. Okay, let's see.
Só minuto.
Just a second, please.
Cláudio, a nossa equipe técnica está verificando.
Our technical team is working on that. Would you please wait a little bit more?
Eu nem almocei por causa disso, hein?
I didn't even have lunch because of that, maybe. No, it's really thrilling. So meanwhile, you can start with your explanation as they work on these technical issues. Well, I would like to say that I've been working as a professor in AI, focusing on data and big data at institutions such as the University of São Paulo and universities as ESPM and FIAP. And more we wanted to implement AI. And nowadays, there are so many different ways to implement AI. We can also do this by using environments or using AI, Gen AI models in different contexts. And there is also a variety of AI models called SLMs. Very good. It's on screen now. Thank you very much.
Esses modelos vão estar
So these models will be present throughout this presentation. So to get started, the idea is to talk about these AI factory framework. So in the previous talks, we saw that our role has changed dramatically. And when it comes to our roles, we can and we will become people who work with AI. And we will also play the role of training or also balancing different types of AI in order to orchestrate them so that we can obtain the best results. And within this vision, and based on that, inside institutions, we will find what we call AI factories. When we look at this global context, and that was even mentioned in the previous talk, that we have even seen some advancements here in Brazil when it comes to the maturity in the ideas related to AI. Recently, I was also working at the control officer here in Brazil, and also there are some manuals for AI use here in Brazil, and we are also sharing this with all local governments throughout the country. And this AI readiness, we can also see that we are been advancing a lot. And when it comes to digital transformation, we think about how we can implement AI by integrating AI within context, decentralized finances, open banking, applied AI to all AI applied to all process, AI also embedded in super apps, the automation of embedded integrated and AI commanded processes, and finances for general control due to open bank embedded in super apps. And of course, this has evolved a lot. And we also have to take into account cybersecurity so that we can focus also as well on this. And we also see that there is a team related to that and dedicated to that. But how can we also use this with AI? If we think about it, in the past, financial institutions would use AI. If we see, for example, their deliveries, they had the machine learning systems that had these diagnostic contexts, and they deliver to these institutions. They have different machine learning models delivered, which will bring us results when we apply this to our business.
Se temos estágio mais evoluído, começamos.
If we are at a more evolved stage, we can use these prescriptive models that use these optimization contexts. And definitely one of our greatest goals is to be the most predictive as possible. That's why we have different applications when it comes to business.
Quando surgiu,
Naturally, when a Gen AI arose, we incorporated more advanced deep learning algorithms
mais profundas,
on deep neural networks so that we can do more than working with these traditionally used contexts. We started to use Gen AI.
pulamos
So at this point, we skipped one of these phases so that we can use this whole population inside our corporations so that they can start to use this tool that deals with content understanding, conversational tools that are very powerful.
potenciais de ganho.
AI bring all this potential for gain that can be used.
Podemos
And by understanding that, we can wonder,
a questão de começarmos a trabalhar
how can we start working with AI and placing that on a scale of production?
foi dito na palestra anterior, inclusive,
As we had in the previous lecture, only 20% of AI projects would escalate. We have this context that is a kind of complexity to deal with AI.
ali,
And the president of a bank mentioned that in order to place that for the general public, we need to have a set of guardrails
a Locine,
to ensure that
bases adequadas.
it's like stable, and we have to access all the basic functions. That makes AI a little bit more complex.
Embarcados.
Of course, there are some embedded risks, and there is also a cost, absolutely.
Previsto.
But that cost was not envisioned 2 years ago. Nobody thought about like, okay, I'm going to put AI in my budget for all my employees. We didn't have such a thing.
Da vida,
But when ChatGPT came along, we had a new vision for implementation that makes us to have AI.
então, alguns empresários famosos, como
So some famous business people like Udell decided to talk about that, and they thought, okay, so
cada vez mais
the trend is that we're going to have more and more AI being implemented.
que roda,
As we all know, AI works from GPUs.
criou-se uma abordagem
So we've created an approach of development, so like an AI factory that could serve the context of delivery of AI models the best way possible. So you see, in order to create an AI factory, we're not talking about this environment vision, but we're talking about services, a whole ecosystem of platforms, more options as possible, and also infrastructure that should roll somewhere.
e óbvio, isso só tem sentido
And of course, that only makes sense if addresses things such as cost, security, sovereignty of data, sovereignty of AI, and other aspects to be developed within this context, how we can escalate in time.
dessa visão.
And by thinking like that, the AI factories became more simple
Foi desenhado
because there was an environment that was designed that it's AI native.
segurança
We already have an enhanced concept of security with factors of whoever deal with data,
consegue também extrapolar
and that can also extrapolate that on the AI context. And last but not least, it becomes an economical aspect to be observed because there are some advantages that can be considered.
aprofundar pouco mais. As fábricas
If we're going to delve into that, we see that AI factories are coming from companies, and the business areas come with their demands for use. These demands, the first thing that an AI team analyzes that if they have good quality data to be considered to build an AI model. If not, it makes absolutely no sense to start an AI model.
será que nós
The second point is, do we have special teams for that, trained teams for that end?
existe uma
Well, usually there is a whole area of AI at the corporation, and oftentimes this area can become bottlenecks when they talk about like managing projects. But on the other hand, we think, okay, we want to spread that to all teams.
inteligência artificial
So we think in order to create AI, you need something more specialized. You need people that can bring this knowledge forward so that the teams can implement that. So that comes from specialized services up to expansion. And last but not least, when we use AI, we need to work with specific softwares and to roll that out in an environment that would be interesting and that would bring the best performance.
Obter os nossos
Of course, we want to have our results. We want to accelerate our innovation.
contexto
We want to have a context to improve productivity. And of course, we want to reduce cost and accelerate the time to market.
a gente consegue
With a vision such as this one, we can propose and bring this vision from factory that many companies are building and thinking like placing AI and putting that on an industrial scale. So to have the models rolling out.
especializada
Dell has a special team for that. I think you've heard about you know about Dell as computer servers and all that, but there is a whole team focusing on consultancy that it's in Brazil, that
de 120 bilhões
they have a revenue of more than 120 billion reais in services alone, so it's quite an expressive number.
trazendo insumos sobre
And they bring input as regards how to work strategically, designing strategies with the companies,
implementação,
working with contests for implementation, for adoption, and also how to scale with these models, from managing data up to how they can think about the loads and the AI, and in the context, how to make the operations more simple, to use the best context,
forem adotadas
and to even the technology that is going to be used. Well, we can do all that and we can bring this kind of input.
parte de integração de
We also work with this part of integrating data, that it's crucial.
certamente reforço na
And for sure, we bring more emphasis in security, that all companies must have an embarked security set
sejam mais rápidas possível.
and to deliver as fast as possible for the best results.
Quando você começa contexto de uma
When you start in a context with an AI in a factory, the first thing that we usually do is to raise the best use case.
a partir de dois princípios
And they should start from 2 points. The contest for feasibility and return, being commercial or for society, depending on the kind of situation.
você faz isso, você começa
And when you do that,
plano de implementação
you start addressing your AI plan in a very good way. You create and start implementation
retorno para ti.
with that part that brings most return, so you can do that more efficiently.
Todos os contextos de inteligência artificial
All AI contexts today
uma nova visão
deal with this vision that every day there are new platforms.
de IA implementadas
So AI platforms that have been implemented in companies should be as agnostic as possible, allowing their companies to work with any kind of technology, or at least the main technologies that are available.
o desafio atual das empresas
The current
é de como
challenge is how we can orchestrate AIs that have been developed for many different factors, each of them with their own approach. But for the other companies, it's a platform that has been elected, and then you have guardrails and security. And for those that are taking the first steps, try to bring the current structure and to optimize that to start with the first projects in a more economical way, and then we have the best results.
dentro desse contexto, por acaso,
Within this context, Dell is also one of the greatest implementers of open source.
fez
And in the hanging phase, we can bring to our equipment and to the many kinds of systems
on-premise
and on-premises or cloud environments, we can bring the best LLMs in the market and the main models of Gen AI in the market or premises, so that we can roll in many structures.
fábrica de IA, então ela deve entregar
So, after all, at the end of the day, actually, an AI factory must deliver the best results,
desse contexto.
and they are delivered in this context.
Então,
And you have this full capacity of bringing input
estes
for each and every one of these contents.
querem assistentes de
So, companies want first robots to work on their WhatsApp. Some others want to have computational vision.
temos diversos tipos
So we have many kinds of demands that can be met within this vision of an AI factory. And for sure, when we think about an AI factory, one must think about the integration that you are going to offer with the many different kinds of contexts and those environments with database. That's really important.
Uma das abordagens que temos para
One of the approaches that we have to address that is the data mesh context and data lake houses.
entregar e
So we can deliver and work with different contexts of data lake house.
construímos uma
But the thing is, when we create a solution, it's important to deal with data. It's important to deal with efficiency of processing this data so that can limit your AI properly.
organizar bem os dados faz parte.
Organizing data is part of the task. And of course, I'm bringing that you can think about your own context.
Fator que é muito deixado de lado é que
But there is a factor that is often ignored is security. Everybody likes showing like a very successful case of AI that has been implemented, but not many are careful enough to move on in the protection of an AI.
ela tem vários
AI today has many weak points.
para realizar
It's been used for cyber attacks already. There is an ethical chat GPT, so you can create tests for penetration in systems that you can even crack and use that as a reference.
grandes temores que estão surgindo.
So the greatest fears that are coming up is that people who are malignant enough that they can study the context to poison data. So I can poison my AI so that subjectively it can answer favorably to me within a very specific context.
Clientes,
And if a bank has millions of clients, that's very easy to hide.
posso tentar direcionar
Another context that I can guide my AI on that bank to do some kind of task that it shouldn't.
eu vá guiando ele a partir de prompts.
So, for example, like driving a car through guiding points. So these are important points that are not very much dealt with whoever is starting.
Podem ser
All these aspects can be explored as possible points of attacks and possible failure in an AI. And an AI factory can mitigate all contexts regarding risk
estratégias de redução
and apply strategies for reduction that could be more appropriate for each of these contexts.
de situações que quase ninguém.
One of the major concerns that people don't have is like stealing models.
Você demora horas para
So you take hours to build up a model, and then all of a sudden, somebody just goes there, does a reverse engineering, and grabs your model.
crédito, por exemplo,
Credit models, for instance, that can exist.
de cobrança também.
Invoicing models, the same thing. So it is an important aspect to be observed.
É que temos uma nova realidade.
The thing is, we have a new reality, a reality that can change and bring AI
Segurança.
to work with the security team. And from that, you can monitor the new loads and the new workloads with AI. So AI factories that have been built with by many companies should start building monitoring panels that allow them to analyze the risks and workloads for AI. So we are talking about data, we're talking about pipelines and results.
Quando a gente entra dentro desse
When we talk about this productive context,
perceber que para implementar,
we realize that to implement that,
pensar, mas onde eu vou rodar isso?
and you might think, okay, where am I going to roll that out?
Porque eu
I have 100% cloud environment.
alguns exemplos
That are some examples to be mentioned.
que trabalham no contexto
Some clients work in an on-premise environment
uma mescla entre os main
within like a mixture of online and on-site and premises. And of course, context that AI starts loading in their notebooks.
próxima realidade que
So the next reality we're going to have is that AI is going to roll in our machines with NPUs with very significant results.
por exemplo, que rodam modelo.
We already have notebooks that work with 100 billion parameters. That is quite relevant.
Existem várias abordagens.
But there are many technological approaches that can be used thinking about an AI factory. For instance, you have implementations that are done with powerful
Performance
servers with NVIDIA that delivers advanced performance. There are powerful implementations with AMD that deliver very reliable data. Some others done with Intel
entregam
that also deliver great results. So you see,
X
do you understand why why we should have like an appropriate and adequate choice to implement.
Casos de sucesso bem simples aqui,
And let me give you just some simple success cases.
que tem a ver com tecnologia.
One that has to do with technology.
A Samsung,
So we have Samsung.
no Brasil, ela resolveu
Samsung decided to create AI models in Brazil that would be more sophisticated, and they adopted an AI factory
conjunto
built along with Dell. So I think this is going on a global level.
exemplo de implementação
So this is an example for implementation and construction of AI, from the first code up to the embedded AIs. Dell can deal with large amounts of data, so for competitive environments.
o desenvolvimento
So we also have the development of a new prototyping in this digital environment, and they are evolving fast. And new vehicles are being digitally created in very short periods, in a matter of seconds, so that we can optimize performance of McLaren. And this has ensured good results, of course, apart from the quality of their pilots. In this context of digital implementation, we also see that this has a factory perspective where we use the first aspect of AI implementation, which has to do with the HAG or approach. So whenever we wanted to start from that traditional vision of having a more intelligent prompt loaded with our data, our treasure, as a matter of fact, we start this HAG or this fine adjustment approach, and that's what we see here.
sendo bem feito, entregue.
And this is well done, and we also have these secure and safe systems with all the guardrails that are necessary for this delivery. And the idea was to create something that could talk to users, have this high performance delivery, so that we can also offer use case and AI that could be applied to all document search contexts. So this is something more sophisticated and using NVIDIA Enterprise as a processing platform and environment. Here we can see a view of environment migration where we can create a discredited journey and also can work inside this client system, so that you can also apply these squads that work on creating a data lake and implementing AI at the same time.
Nós temos novo conceito
Lastly, there is a new concept coming up, which are the AI agents with this human aspect now. These agents have been implemented, and I would like to delve into that as well.
para fechar.
And to conclude, there are two more cases here. The first deals with a healthcare service provider, which using this factory context, they prepared their whole database and migrated to the cloud. And one of the greatest AI factories in the world, a successful case, which is XAI. Dell was chosen to implement more than 200 GPUs at this AI factory, which is potentialized models such as Grok, so that they can control Tesla vehicles, such as those autonomous taxis and also robots.
Como seria isso pouco na prática?
But how would we put this into practice? So this is a digital human which accelerates by 300% this interaction with the user. So these AI factories allow us to build this new concept. This has been widely explored. This is a bit controversial even, because nowadays there might be a person
Como Einstein, que já partiu
such as Albert Einstein, and he can talk to you by means of this digital human.
pode ser criado esse
And this can also be created. This virtual assistant can be the face of or the of the patterns followed by your company. And one of the examples is the following.
agente digital
There is a digital human or assistant that interacts with our contact and brings us all the answers based on their content about the situations we present to her. Actually, in this event, you will see her by means of this chamber or by means of this camera. So what would this look like? This integrated digital human, which would make database integration with systems and database, and will also bring us this answer, so that this could be easily implemented by any company. How we would materialize this? So here I would like to show you an example, a very simple example that will illustrate that.
Hi, Mike. What can I help you with today?
Hi, Clara. I need to onboard a new employee.
Certainly.
Fazer onboard.
Is the new employee part of the engineering team?
No, he's not.
What is the first name of the new employee?
It's John
What is the last name of the new employee?
Smith.
Can you type in the employee's email address?
Sure, there you go.
Okay, thanks. Give me a few seconds to get into the portal and get them set up.
Sure, no problem. I'm just going to sit and watch. Hopefully I'll actually learn something in case I need to do it myself someday.
Okay, the new user is created and I've sent them an email with their temporary password. I'm going to go ahead and invite them to the company's Slack channel as well, so they can immediately join the conversations.
That's great. Can you send John a note in Slack to welcome him as well once you're done?
Sure, that's a great idea. Give me a sec.
No problem.
Okay, that's done. I'm going to send him a personal note myself. As his new co-pilot, I want him to know that I can help him in the future as well, whenever he has a task for me to do. Is there anything else you need from me?
Not for now, but let me know when you learn any new skills so I can ask for help with other stuff.
I certainly will. I'm learning how to do more stuff every week. Have a good day.
Então aí, pessoal, isso é um exemplo muito simples.
So this is a very simple example of an AI system using a few system interacting agents that can also create these onboarding processes for employees, that can also create these routines that might not be remembered by us, but will be remembered by the agent, so that we can interact with them. So of course there are more sophisticated examples being used at these banks systems, and due to confidentiality I will not be able to illustrate that. But they also interact with these banks environments, and they also have the capacity to work in this system and work as a financial consultant now. This is what I would like to show you. Thank you so much for your presence here. I will remain at your disposal so that I can clarify any of these topics. And also I would like to thank for your participation. Thank you so much.